There's only one way that you can legally pay 0% tax as a United States citizen, and that's by taking advantage of Act 20 and Act 22. And best of all, it's relatively easy to do. Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people are doing it currently, and if they can do it, you can do it too. And I ended up traveling to Puerto Rico to talk to a multi-millionaire friend of mine that is using this secret, and we're gonna share exactly how you can do it step by step and how easy or hard it actually is. Now, many different countries have laws that if you're living outside of the country, you don't have to pay taxes to that country anymore. You can still keep your passport and you don't have to pay the taxes. But the United States is different. Other than this method that I'm gonna talk about, the only other way to pay 0% tax is to get rid of your citizenship, get rid of your passport, and that might cause some problems. Now, there is a lot of different ways to use write-offs to lower your tax bill. You can put money into charity, you can invest in your business and show business losses. You can even write off about 50% of your rent as long as 50% of your apartment is an office. And right now, with so many people working from home, that is a big tip. If you do want to save some money on taxes, write off some of your rent as an office, assuming that you're actually using it as an office. Another way that you can save a lot of money on taxes is using the foreign earned income exclusion, which basically means that if you spend 330 days out of the year outside of the United States and you're making money from a foreign company, you don't have to pay taxes on the first $100,000 you make. Now, for most people, this is a great way to pay 0% income tax. If you're making under $100,000 and you live outside of the United States, you can pay 0% income on all that income. But there's some big problems with that. For one, you have to spend 330 days outside of the United States. On top of that, you have to be earning income from a foreign company, and it only applies to the first $100,000 you make. Now, for a lot of people, $100,000 is a lot of money, but for me personally, I make quite a bit more than that. And I actually did a video right here where I break down how much money I made last month. So if you're interested to see how I've been able to make over $50,000 per month, check out that video. So for me and for most people, the only way to legally and legitimately pay 0% tax is to use Act 20 and Act 22. And give this video a like because I did a lot of research for this video, and this video will hopefully save you a lot of money. Now, before I explain Act 20 and 22, I need to give you a little bit of context, a little bit of backstory here. Puerto Rico is technically the 52nd state in the United States. So it's kind of a state, but at the same time, it's kind of its own country, and it has its own government, but no real representation in the United States government. And Puerto Rico is a beautiful island in the Caribbean, and I recently went there and absolutely enjoyed my time. The beaches are beautiful. There's a lot of islands around there. My friends and I actually rented a yacht and sailed around for the day, and it was an amazing experience. But as some of you may know, a few years ago, Puerto Rico was devastated by a hurricane. And one of the ways that Puerto Rico decided to recover from this disaster is to actually use Act 20 and Act 22 to get more foreigners to come to Puerto Rico, invest in startups, invest in the real estate, and invest in the economy as a whole. Now, Act 20 and 22 actually started back in 2012. And to be able to take advantage of Act 20, you need to start a corporation in Puerto Rico. Now, if you already have an existing business, you can reincorporate in Puerto Rico. Now, with Act 20, you're gonna pay 4% tax, which is a lot less than you would pay in the United States. With Act 22, you'll actually pay 0% capital gains tax. Now, capital gains tax is the amount of money you make by selling an asset. Let's say you start an online business and you grow it one day and you sell it for $10 million. Now, normally you'll have to pay capital gains tax on that. But if you move to Puerto Rico, you can pay 0% capital gains. Now, it is a little bit more complicated if you started your business before you moved to Puerto Rico. But once you move to Puerto Rico, any extra value that you were able to sell your company for, you're gonna pay 0% capital gains on any increase in value. So let's say when you move to Puerto Rico, your company's worth $5 million, but then once you're in Puerto Rico, it goes up to being worth $10 million. You'll still have to pay capital gains on that first $5 million, but the next $5 million is absolutely tax-free. Now, to take advantage of Act 20 and Act 22, you actually need to move to Puerto Rico for at least 6 months out of the year. Though I've heard from a lot of lawyers that you can spend one of those months traveling, so technically it's only 5 months out of the year in Puerto Rico. The last thing is, for Act 22, you need to buy real estate in Puerto Rico. Now, there's no minimum amount of money you need to spend on the real estate, but technically you're supposed to be living in the real estate that you buy. But with the amount of money you're saving on taxes, that property is basically free. And the truth is, when I first heard about this opportunity, I thought it's probably really hard to do, and I thought, who would want to live in Puerto Rico? But then I had a multi-millionaire friend of mine move to Puerto Rico for the tax benefits. And first thing, he said it was really easy to do. And the second thing, when I asked him, how is living in Puerto Rico? He said it was a 10 out of 10, that he would highly recommend it. And for me, someone that's in the highest tax bracket and paying extremely high California state income tax, I decided to fly to Puerto Rico to check it out for myself, because by not moving to Puerto Rico, I'm actually spending an extra $200,000-$300,000 per year in taxes. So I wanted to know, and I'm going to answer in this video, is it worth it for me to move there? What is life like in Puerto Rico, and how easy is this actually to do? And what I found out is going to surprise you. The first thing I noticed when I landed is it very much feels like a different country, even though it's technically part of the United States. It's hot and it's humid, it's very tropical, and I don't know how to describe it, but I've traveled to a lot of third world countries, and there's something about the airport that reminded me of those travel experiences. The next thing I noticed was they were very strict about their COVID precautions. In fact, they had signs all over the place. I guess we were supposed to fill out some kind of a form that we didn't know about when we booked our travel, and I speak some Spanish, my girlfriend is fluent in Spanish, and even she had a hard time really understanding what was going on. Eventually, when we got out of the airport and driving to my friend's place, I was looking around and there were clear signs of poverty all over the island, and again, it reminded me of a lot of my travels in South America. However, where my friend lives was on the St. Regis golf course. He lives in a multi-million-dollar mansion, absolutely beautiful, with views of the golf course and views of the ocean from his infinity pool. And inside this complex was completely different from the outside world of Puerto Rico. And while I was visiting Rob, the person that owns the house, another one of my friends, Mina, actually came and joined us, and we explored Puerto Rico and even rented a $1.3 million yacht. And I'll be doing a video documenting my entire trip in Puerto Rico, including what it was like on this $1.3 million yacht. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. I've also done interviews with both Mina and Rob on this channel. I'll put those links up here. Mina has a business on Amazon that's doing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Rob started a business on Amazon that did over $70 million in sales. He ended up selling that business, and that's where he got a lot of his money from to be able to pay for this amazing house and do all these amazing things. And I'll link those videos up here and down below. But from what I can tell, a lot of the people in Puerto Rico were making their money from internet companies, Amazon FBA being a very big one. That's usually what I talk about on this channel. But let's answer the question from Rob. How easy is this actually to do? How hard has it actually been moving to Puerto Rico and taking advantage of the 4% tax?
I'd say like 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Maybe. You know, because so there's the move dynamic, and for me coming from Seattle, having a young daughter, my wife, the whole move is complex. Like, just no matter how you look at it, it doesn't matter if we're going to New York or Georgia or Florida, like that would have been a thing. So that was complex. And then, understanding the legalities. Fortunately, had a really good legal team. If anyone's interested in it, feel free to reach out. I'll refer you. He's awesome. So that helped. But, again, it's just making sure you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and doing everything the right way. That's what it's all about.
Another question I had for Rob was, what was it like living in Puerto Rico?
I think it's amazing here. Like, Puerto Rico it's been 10 out of 10, from, waking up and being on a beach to constantly having the sun to the entrepreneurial environment. I think places like Puerto Rico, these sovereign states, are really the future of the world because, they attract a community that, again, is able to accelerate economic growth. And it's a really cool model. And I think it's going to win out. And who doesn't like living, on the beach and just with good vibes, more or less. So I love it.
Why do you like Puerto Rico versus anywhere else?
I think the main thing is kind of like off the map out there with the, entrepreneurial program they have. You got to have the balls to pick up and move. Yeah. Right. And there's other people who had the same thought process. There's like a really good entrepreneurial drive out here that I really appreciate. So I've liked that quite a bit.
Ultimately, for me, what I realized is Puerto Rico is amazing. Living there could be a lot of fun. There's a lot of different communities and a lot of different areas in Puerto Rico you could live, but I personally didn't find any spot that I was in love with. Most of the areas in Puerto Rico I went to look like it'd be perfect for someone that's looking to settle down a little bit more. But for me personally, I had a corporate job a little over 8 years ago. And the reason I quit was to be able to have freedom in my life. Freedom to be able to travel wherever I wanted to. Freedom to be able to do whatever I wanted to be able to live life under my terms. And at this point in my life, for someone to say you have to spend 6 months out of the year in a certain location feels a little bit like jail. And the truth is, if I could get some friends that wanted to move with me to Puerto Rico and we could create our own little community, I absolutely would do it. So that might be something that I end up doing in the future. But my goal in life isn't just to make as much money as possible. If it was, it'd be a no-brainer for me to go to Puerto Rico. My goal in life is to enjoy life as much as possible. And the truth is, I make more than enough money to do everything that I want to do. And at this point, I'm not willing to lower my amount of freedom just to raise my income. But as I make more money, there may be a point where I'm just losing way too much money to taxes, and that might tip over and I may end up wanting to move to Puerto Rico. And if you're curious how I make my income, check out this video right here. I share all my numbers, all my different income sources, and exactly how I do it. So click on that video. I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.